Oh, hey guys, welcome back to the Wizard shop. I turned on the camera, I got everything going here. Mrs. Wizard hasn't been here yet to see this. Today, the theme of today's video is Harley Davidsons. Let's get started.
Well, it's a nice Harley there, Wizard.
Yeah, it is. It's a really sweet old Duo-Glide. It's beautiful.
Which customer brought that in?
We did. It's ours.
What? How much did you spend for this?
25 grand.
What?
Whoa, 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 whoa!
What did you do? $25,000?
Where did you even get that?
It was in your toolbox.
Don't kill me.
Where did you get it from?
I've had it a long time. I didn't know you even knew where that was.
Well, of course I do, but it's never been used. It's like perfect. Why do you have this?
Because I have to work on a $25,000 Harley with it.
How did you do that?
There is a good story, and the end result is really good. Let's talk about it.
Okay.
In all actuality, Mrs. Wizard already knew about this. We already talked about it. Everything was agreed upon. But it was pretty cool to see get chased around by a wrench. That's happened before. That's actually happened before. So.
Not from me.
Not from you.
I didn't do it.
Might as well a few times.
Could have.
But this was for sale on Facebook Marketplace. It says 1963 Harley Davidson Duo-Glide Panhead 1200. And it was for sale for $25,000. In the ad it said, I am also interested in trading for cars and motorcycles. Let me know what you got. I have always wanted an old Panhead. But every time I found one and I saw the $20,000, $30,000 price, it's like, I just can't do that right now. But when I saw this person said they're interested in trading as well, I just so happened to have, or have, a lot of cars, a lot of different things that some of them I weren't even driving anymore. So I propositioned to this seller, I said, hey, I have a 1954 Plymouth Savoy with 30,000 original miles. Here's a picture of it. You guys have seen that in a video. I also have a 2005 Toyota RAV4. Here's a picture of that as well. And I had a motorcycle you guys have not seen on camera yet. I had it actually not for very long. And here's a picture of it. Is a 2012 Triumph Street Triple 675. A Street Triple R, I should say. The combined total of all three of those I estimated to be about 16 or 18 grand. I did not mention prices to the seller. I just said, here are these three vehicles. Would you like to trade these for this? Isn't that crazy, guys? 3 perfectly running vehicles for one old Harley. Once the seller saw the pictures, he said, yes, I love that old Plymouth. I can sell the other vehicles and give the RAV4 to a family member. This is all works out for me. It works for you. If you'd like to do the trade, I'm all the way in Nebraska. I said, I will send Junior Mint with all 3 vehicles on a trailer. All you have to do is sign the paperwork and load this onto my trailer. He said, done. It's a deal. And there we have, I was able to acquire a $25,000 motorcycle. Now I know some of you are thinking, oh come on Car Wizard, that's a $4,000 motorcycle all day long. You would be so wrong that you should be ashamed of yourself. Let me show you a few things for sale, just parts on this motorcycle. If this engine were to fail on this motorcycle and I wanted to put OEM original engine back into it, here's a 1960 Panhead, original OEM engine, almost $17,000 just for the engine. There's one more I'll show you. This is a couple years newer, a 1964 Panhead, again just the engine, almost $18,000. So before we get back to the motorcycle, I just was looking at the bike and I saw, what if my speedometer was bad or the dash was bad or something was bad? How much is one of those worth? This is just a little dash with the speedometer and ignition switch. $2,189 just for a speedometer and the dash. So the idea that this is a $4,000 bike, only a fool would say something like that, because I just showed you the engine itself is worth the asking price almost. $25,000 is a very good deal. This thing runs, it rides, although it's apart right now. I'm going to show you that here in a minute. But these things pre-COVID, they were $10,000, $12,000, $15,000 bikes. After COVID, we have all seen cars and everything skyrocket in prices, and these are no exception. These are now $20,000 and $30,000 and $40,000 motorcycles. To help with the rarity of this motorcycle, in the 62-63 model year, there was a union strike at the Harley Davidson factory, and where they would have made 5,000, 10,000 of these motorcycles in a year, they only made 100. And this is a 63. There is not a lot of these on the road at the 63 model year. Can you imagine how many are actually left running in good condition that weren't scrapped or in the back of someone's barn is rusted away? Probably half of that. Or wrecks, things of that nature. So now we know that this bike is definitely worth the asking price because the parts alone could be parted out for more than the asking price. Let's take a look at this thing. You can see it's kind of stripped down right now. I want it styled a certain way without detracting from its originality, there's going to be no cutting, no drilling, no welding, anything like that. Anything I'm going to do to this bike is bolt on. But let's take a look at some of the pieces I've taken off. Here we have a lot of the parts and pieces that came off. These were all installed on the bike when I got it. It had basically what's called a tour pack. Here we have the rear trunk that would mount on top of the luggage rack on top of the rear fender. We have the two hard bags that were on either side with the lids. Here's our windshield, and I did look up this little white bag that's on here. Just the bag itself is $300. That doesn't include the windshield or anything. It's a very good condition accessory bag. You can see the luggage rack that's inside of that hard bag. There's some chrome rails that go on the side of the hard bags there. This is what's called a buddy seat. There's lots of pictures with Elvis Presley, who had Harleys of these years, of this vintage. And he'd have, I think it was Priscilla on the back riding with him on a motorcycle seat like that. Two people could ride on that, or one, and have lots of room. I do not like those seats. They actually bounce like a tractor seat. Here's the pogo, it's called the pogo stick, or the pogo spring. The seat actually mounts to this T-bracket, and the seat would just bounce on the spring while you're going along. These things will be stored away in a safe place, probably at my house, so that they don't get stepped on or crashed or anything bad happen to them. You've seen the prices of the parts on these things are very, very high to replace them. So, like I said, no cutting or welding, and someday, which I probably will sell it someday, people are going to ask, where are the original hard bags and the buddy seat and all these things? And I can say, here they all are, just like it was when it left the factory. So let's go take a look around the bike. Here you can see what I believe to be a stock rear muffler. I'm not sure if it is or not. It's kind of strange. It has this weird split in the middle back here. Maybe it was an aftermarket accessory. But I'm going to be replacing these with the straight fishtails that come out the back. It's also a 60s and 70s vintage style with a little bit of baffles inside. I don't want it straight piped, but I don't want it so quiet like it is right now. You can see this little kidney right here. It looks like a kidney. Mrs. Wizard thought it was I don't know what she thought it was, but
It almost looked like what you see a cover for a timing chain, but that didn't make sense.
Yeah, that wouldn't make sense all the way back here, but it is actually a toolbox. You can undo this thumb screw and it opens up. You can put wrenches and screwdrivers and things in there. Harleys have had those on them for all the way back in the 30s and 40s, maybe even earlier. You see it has rear suspension. There's actually springs in there. That's what denotes this being a Duo-Glide. It has front forks with shock absorbers. It also has rear shocks and springs in the back, which is dual, which is two. That's where the name Duo-Glide comes from. We move up to the engine area. This is not electric start. If it were, it would be called an Electra-Glide. This is back in the days where you see the Hells Angels coming out of a bar, and the first thing to do is they kickstart their bike. This is the kickstarting era. Kickstart only. This thing does run, and I'll start it for you guys here in a minute. Here's our voltage regulator. It is a 6-volt system. It is still 6 volt, and I will be leaving it 6 volt. Here's an oil filter, oil tank, kind of like a dry sump on a Ferrari or something. And our battery, strangely, sits in the middle of the oil tank. It's a horseshoe shape. 6 volt battery there. I know you guys are gearheads. You'd get a kick of seeing this old vintage stuff. Here's our air cleaner. It has a Linkert carburetor, which I'm going to be changing to a CV carburetor, a Mikuni, 40 millimeter. It will give easier starting, better fuel economy, and better running all around. Here's our horn. The horn's actually on the other side of the engine, but there's a tube that comes around to the actual flared section right there. Here's our rear brakes. And this little tiny thing right here is the distributor. It has dual points in there. And what's interesting about that is with the left handlebar, the left grip, I can adjust the timing. You can see it moving there. That's how you start this thing. You retard the timing, and then when you go actually start it, you advance it back. And you can see it's a V-twin, it's a 1200cc Panhead engine, the precursor to the shovel head, and it has 55 horsepower. Our generator is right up here, the little black cylinder shaped thing in the front of the engine. Old 6 volt generator. The front forks on this and the front design is the FL style. They've had this for quite a while. You can see these all the way up to the early 80s on the shovel heads. As I said, it denotes Duo-Glide on the side, but you'll see right there, there is no disc brakes. And they're not even hydraulic. They're cable operated drum brakes in the front. Here's the mouse trap. It's actually designed back in the day to make the clutch easier to operate, like this. Neat little contraption there. Here's the actual horn, and it kind of goes around to the side. I'll go ahead and honk the horn. Kind of old school sounding. There's our gear shifter. This is a very old school primary case that you can see all the way back on the knuckleheads. Back in the 30s. Kind of an old style. There's our chain, drum brakes in the back. And again, I'll be changing that exhaust. You can see right here where that T-bracket mounted, and it kind of came down here, and then the spring was in this hole. And the seat would bounce as you go down the road. And that's kind of neat, and it is comfortable, but I've ridden a shovel head that was that way that I used to have. I really don't like the feeling of sitting up above on top of my gas tank, where it's way down below my knees. I don't like that. So I've got a 1978 Harley FXE seat that will be a normal seat that slides in here. I will have to put one small hole. That's all I'll have to do. I'll have a normal, nice, comfortable seat. So once I get the FXE seat on there, it's a nice black seat that looks very nice. It's got pleated little panels in it or whatever. The gas tank will be in front of my knees, not way down here somewhere. To me, it just feels like a clown car when you're riding it like that. And it'll sit nice and low. I also have a leather strip to hide the split between the two tanks. It'll look really, really nice and be comfortable. So fishtail exhaust, a FXE seat, a leather strip right here, and a CV carburetor. And that's it. They're not really modifications. They're just some adaptations to set it up the way that I want it. Oh, and one last thing. I bought a set of used, old-looking leather saddlebags, the satchel style that go right here. They're about only this thick. They don't stick way far out like those things. They're just kind of right here where I can store stuff on them. It has a very old classic look to it. So I want to be able to pull up to this thing with a round of other Harley riders, and even those guys will be like, what the hell is that? I'll say, that's right, what the hell is that? It's the grandfather to your motorcycle.
So you traded a great-grandma for a great-grandpa?
Yes, this is a granddaddy motorcycle. And they have great-granddaddies, knuckleheads and flatheads. It goes way back. But this is the 1960s. When you bought a Harley in the 60s, especially the first half of the 60s, this is what you got. So the question is, I see you got a Kickstarter, Car Wizard. Do you even know how to start this thing, or can you start it? I already have started it like 5 times, so yes, I can. So the first thing I'm going to do, and I'll show you guys, it runs very well. I'm going to open the fuel valve. It's just a little knob over here. Just unscrew it. If you pull it all the way up, that's the reserve. If you're getting low on fuel, I'll put it down, but not screw it down. I'll just push it down. So now the fuel is flowing. We'll retard the timing a little bit. We're not going to turn on the ignition. Put the choke on. Now I'm going to give 3 to 4 prime kicks. That gets some fuel circulating into the engine. We're not turning on the ignition. It's not time to do that yet. Open the throttle all the way open. And as you just seen, the throttle does not return when I let go. That's the way these are. That's normal. You manually put it back. It's kind of strange, but that's the way they are. Get some prime kicks here, 3 or 4 of them. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Turn off our choke. Turn on the ignition. Open the throttle just a little bit. I kick-started a Harley. So a little puff of smoke because it was a little rich. I probably should have primed it 3 times, but go ahead and turn off the fuels so that it's not open while I'm working on it. But as you can see, it's a running and riding motorcycle. The engine fires right up. When you follow the sequence, it's a 1-kick start as far as when you're actually trying to start it. So I know the ignition system's in top-notch shape, the compression's good, the fuel's good. I am going to be switching it to a CV carburetor to get a little bit less smoky and to get it dialed in perfect. So as you notice, while it was running, it was a little bit quiet. We're used to the old shovel head or the pop-a-pop, 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 a real good Harley sound. And this one's a little too quiet for my taste. I don't want it blaring loud, but I want it a little bit louder, so I ordered those, like I mentioned, the fishtail baffled exhaust. But this thing is going to be so sweet. It's beautiful just sitting here, and I'm not even done with it. Now the paint color on here, I don't believe that that's stock. I looked at the color chart of the colors offered in 1963, 62, 64. There's no brown listed. But this was done many, many years ago. They did a very good job. It looks really good. There are some little cuts and scrapes in the paint. I'm not going to restore this. I'm not going to rechrome and tear it and strip it down. It's kind of like your favorite faded pair of jeans. I'm just going to leave it as is. It looks really nice as it is. So when you roll up on one of these, people take a look. Anyone who has a keen eye to motorcycles, and they know right away, that's definitely not a twin cam. So I'm really excited to get this thing cruising around. And Mrs. Wizard has told me that I'm not going to be cruising on the highways and wreck this thing and lose all the money we have into it. So definitely going to just cruise it around town, maybe on the back roads. And anyone who owns Panheads, they don't put thousands of miles on them every year. They're really almost a museum piece. So they're fun to ride, but they're not really a daily transportation. They can be, but you really don't want it to be. So we film all kinds of things in the shop. Yachts, cars, there's tractors outside, and motorcycles. You guys are into engines and transmissions and things of that nature, and this has all of that on it. It's a really sweet ride. This thing has 35,000 miles on it, and it is ready for more miles. I can tell it wants to get back out on the road, and it will be very soon. So that's right, I traded 3 perfectly running vehicles, 3 of them, a trailer load full of car and motorcycles, for 1.
You traded a Speed Demon motorcycle for this slowpoke hog.
Yes, this thing has half the horsepower that the Triumph Street Triple did, but the Street Triple doesn't have class and heritage like this thing does. So,
and it keeps your brains off the road.
Yes, I don't know that you could go over 100 on this. That's the top. I mean, that'd be screaming top speed, 100. This is probably one that likes to do 60, 55, 60, 65 in that range. So definitely not a speed demon. And really on these old Harleys, you don't go racing around in them anyways. So there's a little bit more to go. I'm waiting on parts and things to show up that I've ordered. I can finish this thing out and then I can start cruising it. I can't wait. It's so sweet. I love the old Harleys. Someday I would like to even have a knucklehead. If you're curious what kind of tools I've already used to work the things that I've already done on this, including the giant wrench that Mrs. Wizard had, check my Amazon affiliates link in the description below. We get a small cut and we really appreciate it. And make sure to hit the subscribe button because I'm looking at more videos and more cars and all kinds of things in the shop right now. So thanks for watching, and I need to go hide those giant wrenches. Those things are dangerous. I don't need to get hit with those. Let me go put those away.